Here's the first thing I need you to grasp. Mirrors don't swap left for right. They simply don't. And that single realization is the gateway to comprehending this entire phenomenon. What a mirror actually does is far more basic than that. The moment you perceive its true function, the entire enigma dissolves. It feels like a magic trick, yet it's rooted in simple reality. The issue is that we've been posing the incorrect query all along. Allow me to demonstrate. If you're able, please stand and envision yourself before a mirror. Better yet, don't just imagine it. Go locate a mirror and follow along with me. Now, picture yourself oriented toward the north. Your nose is aimed directly north, straight into the mirror. Now, extend your right hand toward the east. Observe your reflection. In which direction is your reflection's hand pointing? It's pointing east, the very same way. Now, try gesturing with your left hand to the west. Your reflection also points west. Once again, it's the same direction. Now point upward to the ceiling. Your reflection's hand goes up. Point down to the floor. Your reflection's hand follows suit. So far, the mirror isn't reversing anything, is it? Up remains up, down stays down, east is still east, and west is still west. Everything is precisely as it ought to be. But now for the crucial part. Extend your hand directly toward the mirror. You're pointing north. Which direction is your reflection pointing? It's aimed south, right back at you. There it is. The mirror has inverted north and south. It is flipped forward and backward. It has reversed the in and out dimension. The mirror reverses the axis that is perpendicular to its surface, the one that goes straight into it. So the common notion that mirrors switch left and right is a complete misunderstanding of what's occurring. The actual event is a reversal of front and back. The mirror inverts the forward and backward dimension. Once you internalize that, everything else falls into place. But hold on, you might argue. When I look in the mirror and I lift my right hand, the person in the reflection raises the hand that's on my left side. That certainly appears as though left and right have been swapped. And any text on my shirt is displayed backward, which also looks like a left-right reversal. Yes, that's true, but that effect isn't the mirror's doing. It's a product of your own perception, or more accurately, your mind's interpretation. Let me elaborate. Picture a friend standing opposite you, face to face. You lift your right hand. What does your friend observe? They see a hand on their left side ascending. Why? Because you and your friend are oriented in opposite directions. Your right corresponds to their left, and your left to their right. This isn't because of any reversal. It's simply a consequence of your opposing perspectives. Now, when you gaze into a mirror and see that image of yourself, what's your immediate thought? You perceive it as another you standing over there. And if that were indeed you, how would you have arrived in that position? You would have had to turn around to rotate 180 degrees. You would have physically moved to face the other way. But that's not what the reflection is. The mirror didn't transport you and spin you around. That's just what your brain assumes because it's accustomed to interacting with other people. When you see another person facing you, they achieve that orientation by turning. The mirror, however, performs a completely different action. It does something far stranger than a simple rotation. It essentially flips you inside out. It takes the front of you and places it at the back. Your nose, which was at the forefront, is now, in the mirror world, at the rear. Every part of you that was near the mirror is now near the mirror on the other side. The mirror has reversed you from front to back. That's the entirety of it. Here's an alternative way to conceptualize this. Imagine you're looking through a clear pane of glass with an arrow painted on it, pointing to the right. You're viewing it from one side. Now walk to the other side of the glass and look again. The arrow now appears to be pointing to the left. Did the glass flip the arrow? No, the glass did nothing. You are the one who changed position. The arrow itself is still oriented in the same spatial direction. Let's say it's pointing east. But when you view it from the opposite side, east is now on your left instead of your right. The mirror operates on the same principle, except you aren't physically walking around it. The mirror generates an image that exists on the other side, and that image has undergone a front-to-back reversal, not a left-to-right one. Now, if you write something on a piece of paper and present it to a mirror, the text appears backward. What's the reason for this? Consider how the letters were inverted. The paper has two sides. On the side you're looking at, the letters read from left to right. On the side facing the mirror, if you could see through the paper, the letters would already appear backward. They would read from right to left from that vantage point. When the mirror reflects this image, it's reflecting what's on the surface presented to it. And what the mirror perceives is already the reverse of what you see, because you are on opposite sides of the paper. The mirror is just faithfully reporting its perspective. What it's seeing is the back of each letter. To see this more distinctly, try this little experiment. Write a word on a transparent sheet, like a piece of clear plastic or glass. Write hello from left to right. Now hold it up and view it from the other side. It appears backward. The mirror is simply showing you the perspective from the other side. But here is where things get truly fascinating, where the real mental fun begins. Your face isn't transparent, so when the mirror shows you your face, it isn't showing you the back of your head. It's showing you your face, but with the front and back dimensions interchanged. Every point that was a specific distance in front of the mirror is now that same distance behind the mirror in the reflection. So when you observe yourself, your right ear is still on the right, the eastern side. Your left ear is still on the left, the western side. But your nose, which projected out toward the mirror, is now in the image projecting out away from the mirror, in the opposite direction. The reason we find this so confusing is due to a powerful mental habit. When we see another person facing us, we instinctively imagine what it would be like to be in their position, and to become them, we envision ourselves rotating around. If someone stands before me and raises their right hand, I perceive it on my left, and I think, if I were to become them, I would turn around, and then my right hand would be where I see theirs. We apply the same logic to the mirror. We look at the mirror and think, that's me over there. And if I were to become that person, I would have to turn around 180 degrees. But the person in the mirror didn't get there by turning around. They arrived there by passing straight through the mirror, by being flipped inside out through the mirror's plane. And that is a fundamentally different kind of transformation. Think of it like this. Imagine you could take a glove and pull it through itself, turning it inside out, but in 3 dimensions, a front-to-back inversion. If you did that, a right-hand glove would become a left-hand glove. This isn't because left and right were swapped, but because front and back were. And when front and back are interchanged, a right-handed object becomes a left-handed one. This is what mathematicians refer to as a change in handedness, or chirality. If you take a right hand and invert it from front to back, you get a left hand. If you have a coordinate system with x, y, and z axes arranged in a right-handed configuration, and you flip one axis, you get a left-handed coordinate system. So when people wonder why a mirror doesn't flip up and down, the answer is that the up and down axis is parallel to the mirror's surface. The mirror only inverts the direction that is perpendicular to it. East and west are parallel to the mirror, so they remain unchanged. Up and down are parallel to the mirror, so they also remain unchanged. But north and south, or forward and backward, are perpendicular to the mirror, and that is the axis that gets flipped. And when that flip occurs, right-handed things become left-handed things. Not because the mirror has any knowledge of hands, but because the front-to-back dimension was swapped, and that process naturally converts one-handedness into the other. It's quite elegant when you contemplate it. The mirror is performing the most straightforward action possible. It's merely reversing the direction perpendicular to its surface. Every light ray that arrives at a certain angle bounces off at the same angle on the opposite side. That's the extent of it. That's all the mirror is programmed to do. The angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. As the saying goes, the mirror is just bouncing light. But from that simple principle, all these intriguing effects emerge. We perceive images that seem to be located behind the mirror. We experience this apparent reversal of left and right, which is actually a reversal of front and back. We see writing that looks backward. We observe right-handed gloves that appear left-handed. And the reason it's so perplexing is that our brains are incredibly adept at modeling other people. When we see a face, we immediately think, that's a person. And if I were that person, how would I have gotten into that position? And our minds jump to the idea of turning around. But the mirror image didn't turn around. It's not a person who walked to the other side. It's a different category of transformation altogether. You know, when I was younger, this very question was posed to me by my peers at MIT, and initially I didn't have a solid answer. I had to ponder it. I had to truly visualize what was transpiring. And that's the wonderful thing about physics, about deeply contemplating nature. You take something you encounter daily, something you've seen your whole life like a mirror, and you ask a simple question, and you suddenly realize you don't truly understand it. And then, through careful thought, you discover that the reality is even more beautiful than you imagined. The mirror isn't performing any magic. It's behaving precisely as the laws of optics dictate. It's reflecting light. That's all. But because of how we think about ourselves, because of the way our minds model other people, we misinterpret what we observe. We perceive a reversal that doesn't exist, and we miss the reversal that does. And once you grasp this, you can understand a variety of related phenomena. You can understand why ambulances have the word ambulance written in reverse on the front of their vehicles, so that when you see it in your rearview mirror, which reverses front to back, the word appears normal. You can understand why movie clapperboards often have backward writing, because they are intended to be filmed in a mirror. You can understand why a clock in a mirror appears to run backward, because when you reverse front and back, a clockwise rotation becomes a counterclockwise rotation. Actually, that last point is quite interesting. Think about a clock's face. The hands move in a clockwise direction. Now, observe it in a mirror. They appear to move counterclockwise. Why? Because the rotation is advancing towards you. And when you reverse the front to back dimension, what was moving towards you is now moving away from you. The rotation that was clockwise when viewed from one side becomes counterclockwise when viewed from the other. The mirror has forced you to adopt the other side's perspective. This is the same reason a right-hand screw becomes a left-hand screw in a mirror. If you have a screw that you turn clockwise to tighten and you view it in a mirror, it appears that you must turn it counterclockwise to tighten it. Again, this is because the handedness has been reversed by the front-to-back inversion. And you know there's an even more profound question lurking here, which is, could an entire universe exist that is the mirror image of our own? Could there be a world where everything is reversed, where all the screws are left-handed instead of right-handed? For a long time, physicists believed the answer was yes, unequivocally. We thought the laws of physics were identical whether you observed them directly or in a mirror. This principle is called parity symmetry or mirror symmetry. If you constructed a complete apparatus to perform an experiment and then built the exact mirror image of that apparatus, physicists were confident you would get the same results. And for most phenomena, that holds true. Gravity behaves the same way in a mirror. Electromagnetism behaved the same way in a mirror. But in 1956, two physicists named Li and Yang proposed that perhaps the weak nuclear force, one of the four fundamental forces of nature, does not adhere to mirror symmetry. And in 1957, a physicist named Chien-Shiung Wu conducted an experiment that proved them correct. She took radioactive cobalt atoms, aligned their spins using a magnetic field, and observed the direction in which electrons were emitted as the atoms decayed. She discovered that the electrons were preferentially ejected in one direction, opposite to the spin. If you were to look at the mirror image of this experiment, the electrons would appear to come out in the wrong direction. The weak force violates mirror symmetry. It's like discovering a magnet where tiny hairs grow on the North Pole, but not the South Pole. Suddenly, there's a fundamental distinction between left and right in the fabric of nature. This was a shocking revelation. Wolfgang Pauli, one of the great physicists of the time, dismissed it as total nonsense when he first heard the idea. But it was true. Nature possesses a handedness. At the most fundamental level, the universe has a built-in knowledge of left and right, or at least the weak force does. So if you had a friend in a mirror universe and could communicate with them, perhaps through radio signals, you could explain to them which hand is right and which is left. You could instruct them, take some radioactive cobalt-60, align the spins in a magnetic field, and observe the preferred direction of electron emission. That direction is opposite to what we call your right hand's thumb when your fingers curl in the direction of the spin, and they would understand. You could communicate an absolute sense of left and right across universes. Of course, you then have to be cautious if you ever met them in person, because they might be composed of antimatter, and if you shook hands, you would both annihilate. But that's a different story. The main point is that this inquiry about mirrors, this simple, almost trivial-sounding question, leads you to some of the most profound questions in physics. It prompts you to ask, what is symmetry? What is handedness? Are the laws of nature the same when viewed in a mirror? And the answer, it turns out, is almost, but not quite. And that not quite represents one of the most significant discoveries of 20th century physics. But let's return to the simple mirror on your wall. When you look at it tomorrow morning while brushing your teeth, remember that it's not reversing left and right. It's reversing front and back. Your right hand is still on the right side of your body. Your left hand is still on the left. But your nose, which juts out toward the mirror, is now, in that reflection, jutting out away from the mirror. Everything has been flipped inside out, from front to back, and that is what creates the image you perceive. The mirror is behaving exactly as the laws of physics command. It's reflecting light according to very simple rules. And from those simple rules, this rich, confusing, and beautiful phenomenon arises, a phenomenon that has puzzled humans for millennia. And isn't that remarkable? Isn't it wonderful that something so commonplace, something you interact with every single day, can be so subtle, so tricky, so filled with insight when you truly pause to consider it? That's what I adore about physics. The world is filled with these small mysteries, hidden in plain sight, just waiting for someone to pose the right question. So, the next time someone asserts that a mirror reverses left and right, you can smile and gently correct them. No, it doesn't. It reverses front and back. Let me show you. And then you can demonstrate with directions north and south, east and west, and watch their expression illuminate with comprehension, because understanding is a joy. Understanding is one of the great pleasures of being alive. And that is what science is truly about. It's not about memorizing formulas or achieving correct answers on an exam. It's about observing the world, asking questions and thinking deeply until you arrive at an understanding. Until that moment when everything clicks and you exclaim, "Oh, so that's how it works. That's the reason why." And then the world makes a little more sense than it did before. That's the fun of it. That's the pleasure of it. And I hope you have as much enjoyment contemplating mirrors as I have, because they are far from finished surprising us. Every time you believe you have a complete understanding, you can pose another question, delve a little deeper, and discover something new to ponder. So, go find a mirror. Try these experiments for yourself. Point in various directions. Write something on clear plastic and view it from both sides. Truly see what is happening. Don't simply accept my explanation. Witness it for yourself, because that is what makes the knowledge real. That is what makes it your own. And remember, the mirror is not performing some mysterious act. It is just being a mirror, adhering to the simple laws of light. But those simple laws give rise to something wonderful. They lead to an image that resembles you, but flipped inside out, reversed from front to back, transformed in a manner that your brain doesn't quite anticipate. And when you understand why, when you truly perceive what is occurring, that understanding is one of the greatest pleasures in the world. That's all I wanted to share about mirrors.